Let's go. It feels good to be back. This is where I was meant to be, and I'm excited to round out the color wheel. Every Mario game, but you can't touch white. Let's do it. What does the amazing starting game have for us? At first, a pretty good experience, because we can make progress. We kind of went over this last time, but each stage theme at this point only has a set number of colors in it, and when it comes to the ground and underground themes, white is hardly a part of those at all. So everything up to the warps and all the levels in World 8 should be fine, except the last one, because that castle theme is just what we don't want. You could argue that all the bricks are pretty gray here, which I'd agree with, but I don't think I can look past these pipes. They are a bit lighter and bleed into the white territory, and we definitely cannot skip going down how many there are in this level. Unfortunate. Initially, there is a lot more confidence going into this game simply because the graphics are different and won't feature the same white bricks. I was expecting to have a little bit of a good run with this game, make a decent amount of progress, and then relate this level to how it's winter outside right now. It could be a very fitting end, which is why it was a bit anticlimactic to see this pull. Why must you make the required ending like this? Also, what's interesting is I noticed there's always two slivers of color, one for the pole itself and one for the shadow. Sometimes that shadow is yellow and sometimes pink, but either way, it's clearly showing the pole is meant to be taken as white, so too bad. Hopefully getting some upgrades and graphics going forward will work to our advantage, and this game seemed to be going well at first. Everything down on ground level was not gonna hold us up, but one realization I made is something that might just be our greatest enemy, the sky, because that's where clouds like to live. And I don't know if you can technically touch a cloud in real life, but you definitely can in the game. But it's okay, there's actually another path we can take through the cave. Also, I found out you can squeeze through one-block spaces by duck jumping in here. But even if we can reach the boss through this, it doesn't matter because said boss is Birdo, and you gotta throw eggs back to win this fight. Nothing else will work. Eggs can come in different colors, but these are the white ones, no doubt about it. This game gets slightly more complicated because of an important issue that I never like running into. So my strategy for this game is always to beat the first two levels, then get to the third and grab a warp whistle. I'll just say I was proud of this jump to get over the note blocks, but after this, we're supposed to crouch on the white block to fall through and go into the background. But that's not an option this time, so our whole route gets thrown off. At least I could get a leaf and use it to fly up in the castle to get this warp whistle, and we're gonna have to use it right away because of the stage that directly follows. Guess we're seeing how far we can go in a World 4 now. Well, it is pretty fun platforming through all these, and there's even a hammer bro on the map that gives us a cloud power-up, which would become very useful in the fortress because of the ground you start on. Yes, this works because I don't count white on the overworld for these games. And surprisingly, every other level here went fine, and I made it all the way to the airships at the end. I thought I would be successful in beating it, and then this happened. The Koopaling's magic wand came down, and we have to grab it to finish. But real quick, look closely at it. Is that handle white? There's kind of an outline, but the main part does look to be white, and we do have to touch it. Is this enough to count as a fail? I mean, Mario does grasp it from that handle after picking it up, and the cutscene afterwards seems to remove that outline we saw, making the white even more obvious now. Small issue, but I think we're gonna have to say it's a no-go. I think we all know how this game goes based on past experiences, but let's run through it and see that there is no white for a little bit with these themes. World 1 has nothing that gets even close, and World 2 starts with semi-solid white platforms, but we're not touching those, just the black on top. But can't escape it forever, since the white does show up on these blocks in 2-2. SMW gets a little out of hand because there's some things similar to the Gray challenge and some very much not. For example, this time we can't grab checkpoints. You wouldn't think that would play in too much, but as we reach level 3, we run into a problem. Last time, I didn't touch these platforms because they have gray, but I think it's also fair to say that they have white. So can we avoid them still? Well, last time I showed that we were able to by bringing over a Yoshi and dismounting to clear this group with a big jump. Then we're all good till the checkpoint, which before I grabbed to get another Yoshi at the spot. But we can't do that, so I needed a different method. And I found that you can build P-speed and angle yourself in the perfect way to make a big leap off this block all the way over. Then it takes another skill jump to get through all these, and turns out we can make it through. But it still ends in disappointment with the next stage being this. 1 foot starting on a white dot? Come on. Guess the only thing left to do is dance with the fishes. Honestly, most of the zones here are pretty free from anything that would get in our way. Usually there's one standout thing that stops us, but nothing was coming to mind here. I was starting to have hope that we would actually clear this. And then I reached the Mario zone, the ball stage to be exact. And there's one specific platform, these rotating ones that you use to go up. You have to use them since they're too tall, and they are striped in purple and white. So it seems there's no way for your foot to avoid it when going up. Afterwards, you could get the carrot to fly over the rest, but that won't help us vertically. Heading into our 3 dimensions, let's see if we can complete anything. Well, let's run to the castle and not worry about anything here since we determined the bridge is gray. And in the castle, we should be able to sneak around all of the white that is on the floor and even jump into the painting. But that does provide a problem because it doesn't matter what star we get here. Even if there is no white involved with getting that star itself, Mario's foot hits the square when he comes back out of the painting. He is not getting a very good score on that dismount, I can tell you that. But if you thought that was a quick finish, then check this out, because the runway on the airstrip is fully white. I suppose that's probably best for how sunny it is around here all the time, but not gonna go so great for us. Let's go back to this and see if things become any better. Well, I can try to tell you that it looks better since the main part of the level has nothing white to worry about, but what would you say about another flagpole being white? I know some of you are gonna try to tell me it's actually blue, but like before, I think that color on there is trying to represent a shadow. You could debate it, but I'm gonna have to call the main color of this one white. At the end of the day, not like it really matters since level 2 has these rocks underground with this on top, but it's still worth talking about. Can this return to 3D pick up any slack at all? Hey, we don't fail immediately because I'm calling this path more gray, so we can easily make it to the castle and eventually into space. But what do you do once up there? Just play a fun game of hide and seek with some rabbits, and you gotta catch them all, which isn't great because bunny's fur is a very common color, one that we must avoid. So yay! I'm interested to see how this one goes, because there's gotta be a 2D game where we could get further if the flagpole doesn't get in the way. We get our chance in this game since the pole here is gray, which means we can continue on and see what else is in store. And it was pretty simple to run to the level 3 secret exit and take the cannon. Same goes for World 5, as long as you avoid the piranha plants. The tower had nothing, the poison raft was clear, and the ghost house probably provided the biggest threat, but it was nothing impossible. This means we can get all the way to World 8 with basically no issue. However, I should bring up that once you get to the pole at the end of the World 8 stages, they kind of look to be more white than the earlier ones. I think it really is that debate of, can we say it's a different color just because the lighting is changed, or is it always what you see is what you get? I mean, here's the thing. It won't affect the end result, because if we do move on, the skull raft is off limits, so we can't take the secret route, but if we get all the way to the last stage, falling past these bone platforms is not gonna work. There's way too many of these in the sinking lava room that are just not avoidable because we need to stand somewhere. Hard to say how this game is gonna go, but I'm interested to find out. The intro actually goes pretty well, since the white on the edge of the screen is not gonna hurt us. And as we go towards the castle and step onto the bridge, we see that it is a bit darker. I'm calling this gray, and allowing us to launch into space. And you know what? Same goes for this rock, because I'm feeling that generous. But the issue is, if we keep going, we see ourselves circling this planet in the middle that we'll get to eventually. And it has an egg on it, just like before, not something we would want to land on. Even if you don't want to count the first crack, the fact that we have to run around and spin it like this is not gonna work. Man, eggs also come in brown and sometimes even pink, but this is the most common and the one that we didn't want. This might be a 3D game, so you'd think we're back in business, but unfortunately not, since the exact same white pole is used. And look, I just want to say that I could touch the top of it, but Mario is still gonna have to touch the rest of that pole just after, whether it be his feet as he clings onto it or just while sliding. So this is not gonna work for us. Oh man, this one was actually really disappointing because there's a bunch of note blocks, and it was cool doing all of this to jump over everything and feeling like a gamer. But once again, the stupid pole is there trying to ruin it. You already know how many similarities there are between this game and the Wii version. So with that in mind, it's pretty easy to see how there's not a whole lot of white to watch out for through most levels. World 1 has absolutely nothing except, I guess, the bloopers in the secret stage, and we can skip right over to the jungle, which also goes pretty smoothly. I thought it would be a bit concerning once reaching the cloud levels, but turns out even though there is one here you're supposed to ride, an acorn suit can be used to fly over all the gaps. This does take a lot of skill and memorization for the blocks, but it is pretty cool. But honestly, I don't know why I would bother when you factor in the final castle again. You know those similarities that I was talking about? Well, the bone platforms make a return, this time on the collapsing bridge, which you will be forced to stand on thanks to the starting of the fight when you enter. After all this, you have to question, what's worse, getting all the way to the end and losing, or failing right away and never standing a chance? Because that second option is what we're gonna face. It's not even this, because we can do some platforming to go right over all the white wood. But what we can't avoid is the white flagpole at the end once again. Even if we climb it or jump to the top, it's not a good situation. And you know what? Things don't even get any better in this game, because you know how the last 2 times we've done this, the Cap Kingdom has held us up? That's because the theme is very dark, so black and gray is all over the ground. White is also there, but at least it's on the walls, and not something you stand on. Until we go inside Top Hat Tower, that is. Everyone knows this floor once you step inside, and there is no way to bypass it. And not to mention the white arena that we'd have to stand on even if we got up there. Man, the first few colors all failed because of the different colored moons. And then for the last few, it's just this kingdom. This one is definitely a very colorful game. taking us into Lake Lapcat is cool because it could end up being more open world. And when you start, it's nighttime, so white shouldn't be very visible. But wouldn't you guess, right when the sun comes out, and right before we get to the open world state, there's this. Some white sand down below where we team up with a BJR. We can try to go around, but it won't work, and it will force us to stand where we don't want. And finally, back to 2D, which we've had problems with before. This game does have a flagpole, but what is the verdict? With it being a console game, you might think that it ended up being gray, but sadly, it's not. This one is fully white and locking us out of any completion. What better finish could there be than an absolute classic for this color? We might not have had a lot of success here, but I gotta say, it feels good to be doing this again. I love making these videos, and I don't want to stop. So once again, if you have any more ideas for this color series that we could start, let me know. But for now, that is all I got. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone.